My favorite Broadway musical, and this is St. Anne's. I think everybody has to have a favorite Broadway musical if you attend St. Anne's. My favorite Broadway musical is 1776. My wife and I were both graduated from the College of William and Mary in Virginia, and the main character of 1776 is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson is also an alumnus of our college, which the play points out at the very end, if you're familiar with it. Now, the play is about the drafting of the Declaration of Independence and the petty politics that were necessary to have the Declaration unanimously approved by the Continental Congress. And on this July 4th weekend, we would do well to remember Jefferson's words, because over the last 2 months and over the last 2 years, we have begun moving away from its foundational and fundamental principles. Thomas Jefferson, of course, was the drafter of the Declaration of Independence. The purpose of the document was for the Continental Congress to establish the legal and moral basis in justification for rebelling against God's anointed, George III, and the legal authorities of the British Parliament and the British colonial governments. Therefore, Jefferson begins our declaration with a bold statement about who we are as human beings and the purpose for which governments exist. Jefferson writes, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes." And on Jefferson goes, and he will eventually begin listing the specific transgressions and violations of these principles perpetrated by George III and the British authorities. Now, in this preamble to the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson writes not provincially or parochially, but universally. He does not speak solely on behalf of landed white men of British common law descent, but on behalf of all human beings everywhere. Jefferson was well aware of his hypocrisy and once wrote that he feared a just God because a just God would not allow Virginia to go unpunished for the sins of chattel slavery. Jefferson knew that although he fell short of his own principles, they nonetheless applied to everyone, everywhere. Now, Jefferson is not just writing a political document, but one that speaks to a deeper spiritual truth. And it is this truth that we should be proclaiming in America and around the world today. We should be not fighting for our side, whatever side that may be, to win elections or political arguments. Instead, we should be fighting for the fundamental principles that define what it means to be human. And in fighting for these principles, the right side will win, even if it's not our side. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In this day and age, and at this time, we would do well to remember these words and to read, mark, learn, and inwardly digest them. Now, Jefferson begins with the observation that basic human rights are self-evident. We can endlessly debate policy. What should the tax rate be? What's the proper role of the judiciary? What are the contours of American foreign policy? Policy is open to debate. However, basic human rights are beyond debate and beyond question. The existence of human rights and their primacy are self-evident. They need not be proven, and they must form the foundation of any policy discussions. Jefferson writes that all people have these foundational, inalienable rights, beginning with equality under the law. All means all. All means everyone and everywhere. All means all, regardless of social class or economic status, or whether you're an insider or an outsider. All means all, regardless of sex or sexual orientation. And all means all, regardless of race, nationality, citizenship, or immigration status. To quote the Apostle Paul, there is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for God is all in all. It is self-evident. Therefore, no one is illegal, and no one is deplorable. Every person is created equal because every single human being is created in the likeness and image of God. Every one of us is a bearer of the imago Dei, or divine image. Every person has an innate human dignity that cannot be taken away, only opposed. Peter, John, and Paul all affirm that Christ died for all men, and therefore all men have the same dignity before God and before others. Jefferson affirms that our Creator has granted each of us inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And once again, it is these rights that originate from God and not from any human institution. What God has given to each person can never be taken away. Life and liberty are the most basic rights, but it's the pursuit of happiness where our true humanity begins to flourish. 10 years ago, in the case of Obergefell versus Hodges, Justice Kennedy wrote that the orderly pursuit of happiness includes our divinely endowed liberties to those certain personal choices central to individual dignity and autonomy, including intimate choices that define each of our personal identities and beliefs. By recognizing the pursuit of happiness as inalienable, Jefferson acknowledges that each person may pursue happiness on their own terms and no one else's. Each of us possesses the right to become fully human as each of us sees fit. Whenever the cause of human rights is at stake, Jefferson's words resound. In his 1852 speech entitled, "What is a Slave on the 4th of July?" Frederick Douglass asked a very simple question. Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in the Declaration of Independence extended to us also? This same question was asked by the suffragettes at the turn of the last century. This same question was asked by the gay rights movement at the turn of this century. The question has been asked by Japanese Americans in 1941, Muslim Americans in 2001, Jewish Americans last year, and undocumented immigrants seeking to make America their home today. Whenever anyone asks the question, are not these great principles extended to us also? We should join in that chorus. Whenever the denial of a person's full realization, whether that denial of a person's full realization arises from government overreach, from obstruction of standing in the schoolhouse door or on the campus quad, or whether it is the virtual mob on social media that seeks to punish those who are insufficiently compliant with the mob's demands, we should stand firm in the principles embodied in the Declaration of Independence. In standing firm, however, we too often get sidetracked by trying to prove our policy opinions right and those of our opponents wrong. Whether the top marginal tax rate should be 37% or 39.6%, we can mistakenly make into a matter of existential justice and a violation of human rights. In these distractions, our society, and to some extent each of us, begins to lose the ability to see the image of God in others. We start to lose our capacity and our respect for the inalienable rights that everyone in our society possesses. To stand firm in the Declaration of Independence, we must avoid demonizing others in order to elevate ourselves. Rather, in humility, we must boldly uphold the divine universal principles that Thomas Jefferson expressed 249 years ago. We must demonstrate in our actions and words that all people, regardless of how they think, look, vote, are created equal and bear the image and likeness of God. We must declare and demonstrate that every person, without exception, is endowed with inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we must declare that all individuals deserve respect for their personal choices, which are central to their unique dignity and autonomy, even when we ourselves may have chosen differently. As Abraham Lincoln said in his debates with Stephen Douglas, the Declaration is meant to set up a standard maxim for a free society which should be familiar to all, constantly looked to, constantly labored for, and even though never perfectly attained, constantly approximated, and therefore constantly spreading and deepening its influence and augmenting the happiness and value of life to all people of all colors everywhere. We are heirs to the principles of the Declaration of Independence. We are heirs to those who have fought to bring these inalienable rights to fruition for all. Today, we stand on the shoulders of giants, those whose names are written into our calendars, and those whose names we will never know. And today is our time to uphold these principles. Today is our time to keep these principles at the forefront of the policy debates that we are now having. Today is our time to nourish and to water the tree of liberty for all.